Hello, everyone. My name is Cloudy, and welcome back to Songwriting 101. I think we're live. It looks like we are. It just took a moment. Awesome. So, today we'll be talking about seventh chords and the differences between them and how exactly do we use them. So, this is a cool concept because seventh chords, once you understand seventh chords, you can understand all of the extra little bits and bobs that we have in the upper extensions, which create really cool harmonies. And if you're a songwriter, you can use those to your advantage to impact your message. So, what's a seventh chord? We know that our major or minor triads are called triads because they're made up of 3 notes, right? So say we have a C major chord. Within that chord, we have a C, we have an E, and we have a G. Those are our 3 tones there that make up the major triad. Now, if you added another tone to it, you're going to end up with what we call a 7th chord. And the reason that it's a 7th chord is because we're going to add the 7th note of the C major scale. So our 3 tones that we already have are C, that's the first note of our C major scale. Well, our second note would be D, but we haven't got that here. Our third note is E. We do have E in our C major chord. Then our 4th note in the scale is going to be F, but we haven't got that here today. Then our 5th note is G. So in a triad, your chord tones are the 1st, the 3rd, and the 5th note of your major scale. See how that works? Now, if we found the 7th note of the scale, 4, 5, 6, 7, well, that's going to be a B. So a C major 7 chord would have C, E, G, and B. So that's how we work that out, and that works in every single key possible. So we could do it in D. We would have D, F sharp, A, and C sharp, right? We could do it in F. We would have F, A, C, and E. So possibilities are endless, right? Now, there are a couple of other types of 7th chord. So let's go back to our C. We've done C, E, G, and B, and that's our C major 7 chord. Now, what if we flatten the 7th? So instead of B, we play B flat. All right, completely different sound, right? Still sounds good, different sound. And what we call that is a dominant 7, right? Because we've just gone for a flat 7, and in the biz, that's what they call it. It's dominant 7. So then if you took your dominant 7 and you flattened the 3rd, that then becomes the minor 7. E flat. Right? So those are our 3 main types of 7th chords. Now, how do we use that in songwriting? I might hear you saying. To be honest, you can use it however you want. This is the thing about songwriting, is that there are no rules, okay? There are certain things of how things can be done. There's different methods, but there's 101. There's 101 different ways of writing a song. So something that I say to you, you could take this concept and apply it however you want to make your song your own. So let's say we've got a major 7. We might use that and think, okay, well, what sound is that giving me? What emotion does that line up to? For me, a major 7 is quite a dreamy sound. It's quite a floaty sound. We're quite happy. It's like, it's content. So I would wait in my songwriting until I had a lyric that expresses that kind of emotion, and then put that 7th chord, that major 7th chord, underneath it so that it sounds like what the words are that you're saying. Okay, so if you had a line, that was like, I'm safe and warm, or that was like, I'm so happy I'm floating, or like something like that. I don't know. I'm just making this up off the top of my head. But say you had a line that was something of that nature, that like super happy, like, I'm feeling so high, right? That would be like, I'm floating on a cloud right now because I'm really happy and snug and safe and warm and everything is good, right? That's what it sounds like. And so all the lyrics are being reflected in what's that sound is that you get. And that's how great songwriters use these chords to their advantage. Now, what about the dominant seventh? It's almost got this kind of sound of, I mean, a lot of people call it the barbershop chord, right? It's got this old-timey sound. You can use it for nostalgia. You can use it for like questioning things. You can use it for whatever, really. The idea is that you think about how that chord sounds to you and try and allocate some sort of emotions to it. Like, what do we feel when we hear this sound? What does that feel like to you? And then wait until you have that lyric that reflects that sound and put it together. Now, you can even go from a major seven right? And you can go down from the major seven to the dominant seven and land somewhere else. Right? So there I just went from C major seven to C dominant seven to a G. Right? Sounds good. So you don't have to go to G, you can go to wherever the heck you wanted to. But the idea is that you can also put those two sevens next to each other to illustrate a little bit of movement. And that just makes your part a little bit more interesting as well. So say we've come here, we come down again. Say we'll go to a D minor now. And to a G. Do you see how there was suddenly a little bit of extra movement? And the reason that works is because that D minor has a D, F, and an A. So on the top there, I've got the B in the C major seven. Then we change that to a B flat for the dominant seven. And then we go to an A. So we've got this little chromatic part. And that links up our movements really nicely together. So that's another way you could use your sevens. But what about the minor seven? We haven't used that yet or talked about that very much. So this minor seven, it's the same kind of deal. Like, I mean, it's going to have a sad quality to it anyway, because, you know, the whole major is happy, minor is sad stuff. So it's got this sad feeling, but that seven on top just adds this extra dimension. So for me, that sounds a little bit more like regret. It feels like remorse, right? So maybe when you have a lyric that's expressing that feeling or trying to express that feeling, put a minor seven chord underneath it. I wish things were different, right? Something like that. How did we end up here? I don't know how we ended up here, but the minor seven just gets across this feeling of like, how did we end up here? Everything used to be great, but now it's not, and I regret that. You see what I mean? We get this type of feeling, and it just impacts the way that your message is received, right? Because if I said something really happy, say I went for the like, I feel so happy, so all the things that you would say for a major chord, but you put it on a minor chord. I feel so happy and free, nobody can find me, right? Totally different vibe to if we then put that back over our major seven chord. I feel so happy and free, nobody can find me. Right? Totally different vibe. And what if we put it over the dominant seven, the vibe changes again. I feel so happy and free, nobody can find me. right? So it's a whole new way to consider how your message gets across. And I think when we talk about messages in songwriting, it can really be a bit of a confusing thing. But really, what we're talking about is what you actually saying in your song. And so, what you're saying and how that sounds can really make a big impact onto how that's received. Yeah. So, if your audience is supposed to feel some like sad or remorse or nostalgia or questioning everything, I don't know, like what are you trying to get your audience to connect to emotionally? Once you figure that out, you can figure out what type of seventh chord here is going to best impact that message, how it's going to best sync up with the lyric that you have to get the desired response from your listener. So that's it from me today. Join me again next time I go live, which will be this week. And we will talk a little bit more about how all this stuff works in a songwriting context. Maybe we'll go for some examples. I might do a Blue Peter on you and say this is one I've done earlier. That's going to be it for today, guys, though. So have a lovely day. I'll see you again soon. Bye.